Welcome to the 2017-2018 NBA preview. My name is Joshua Enviers. Today we are covering the 26th ranked team in the preview, the Sacramento Kings. Huge inspiration from Grantland. I absolutely love those guys when they did this series, so I'm here doing it now myself, making the graphics, making the videos. This series is based off of record of each and every single NBA team. This isn't who's going to win a championship. This is simply based off of record. So if we take a look at last year's record for the Sacramento Kings, they won 32 games, which wasn't that bad. Mind you, they had Boogie up until like All-Star break. Then after that, they traded him away. This season, they don't have DeMarcus Cousins anymore, so it's going to be a little bit rough on them. And they do not have their 2019 NBA draft pick. I believe that goes to the Boston Celtics or something along those lines, because if the Sixers are in the top 5 or if the Lakers are in the top 5, they don't get that pick. But they get the Kings. It's confusing. All I know is the Kings, I believe, do not have their 2019 NBA draft pick, so it's good to get their draft pick now. You know, try to hit bottom, get a high draft pick, build on the core of Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox, which they drafted this year. Now that we got last year a little bit covered, let's take a look at the offseason moves that the Sacramento Kings did to try to improve moving on from the DeMarcus Cousins era. So here's what they acquired. They acquired George Hill, a 40-year-old Vince Carter, an almost 40-year-old Zach Randolph. He's like 30-something, but he's getting up there in age. And Bogdan Bogdanovic, who I believe is the rookie that came with the Marquise Chris trade from the Phoenix Suns. They traded draft picks. They got Bogdan, they got Scal, and they got a few other players I think I'm forgetting off top. These are nice pickups by the Sacramento Kings. On paper, amazing. But then you got to realize the age of Vince Carter and Zach Randolph. They're not going to be giving you 30+ minutes every single night, which kind of contradicts to all the rookies they just drafted this year. De'Aaron Fox at 5, Justin Jackson at 15, Harry Giles at 20, and Frank Mason III at 34. Besides the Charlotte Hornets, in my opinion, this Kings team drafted the best in this 2017 NBA draft. With all these young guys, why sign older players to slow down the pace? Does it have something to do with the head coach of the Kings currently? Was the former head coach for the Memphis Grizzlies and Dave Yeager, who coached both these players before? Who knows? On paper, it looks like this Kings team is going to play at a very slow pace, and that contradicts on how De'Aaron Fox plays. He's one of the fastest point guards in this draft and gets comparisons to John Wall. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, especially with all these rumors about Zach Randolph. Zach Randolph was caught with like a full car of weed. In the words of Stephen A. Smith, he just couldn't
stay off the weed.
And because of it, the NBA is looking to suspend Zach Randolph and possibly ban him from the NBA for a certain amount of years, probably like 1 or 2, similar to the OJ Mayo situation. And if this happens, the signing will essentially be for nothing. And although Zach Randolph is a veteran presence for this Kings team, which they desperately needed, without him, this Kings team probably loses a few more games than they actually would have with him. There's a lot of things that could end up happening and go wrong for the Sacramento Kings team to make them one of the worst teams in the league. And this spot I have them in, the 26th spot in the preview, is kind of generous. Just because I like their pickups, but there's a lot more that could go wrong than good for this Kings team this year. Luckily, they didn't lose anybody of importance. I mean, Rudy Gay was known to walk. Darren Collison, too. But other than that, like, nobody else is really worth mentioning. So moving on to the projected rotation for this Kings team. The starting 5 looks like Willie Cauley-Stein, Zach Randolph, maybe, Vince Carter, Buddy Hield, and George Hill. At least this is the projected starting 5 for the beginning of the season. Taking a look at the bench, Kosta Koufis, Skal Labissière, Malachi Richardson, Garrett Temple, and De'Aaron Fox. That backup small forward spot kind of scares me, because Vince Carter is the starting small forward for this Kings team. If he rests or if he has some injuries, the next man up is rookies or Malachi Richardson, which I'm sure they're probably going to be giving Malachi Richardson or Garrett Temple a whole lot of minutes this year, because Garrett Temple won like best teammate of the year or something like that. I don't know. That small forward and power forward spot kind of scares me, depending on what happens with Zach Randolph and Vince Carter with rest and injuries and all that. So it's just something to look out for, just in case. So originally this roster looked really good on paper. I was excited for George Hill, Zach Randolph, and I guess Vince Carter. But now everything that happened with Zach Randolph and now realizing Vince Carter is like 40 years old and he may be the starting small forward, things are looking a little bit rough for the Sacramento Kings. Originally, I had high hopes for them, but now as it's getting closer to this season, it doesn't look so good, and realistically they should be tanking because they don't have their 2019 draft pick. So my question is, for the Sacramento Kings, how many games or how long does it take for De'Aaron Fox to be that starting point guard? Because in this year's NBA draft class, he's supposed to be up there with guys like Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball. Why wouldn't you want to start him when a rebuilding team? I know you signed George Hill to a 3-year deal, but I mean, you can't really play Fox, Hield, and Hill at the same time. I mean, they might try that. It might work. Who knows? But it confuses me. I absolutely love George Hill as a player. I think he's completely underrated. But it confuses me why you signed him for that long. Do they expect Fox not to be a starter for 2 to 3 years? Or is this just like an experiment to say, okay, young fella, we got to get some vets in here. We got money to spend. Why not spend it on George Hill, and he could show you the ropes in your first year? And I hope that's the case. I hope that's the reason why they signed George Hill. They signed Vince Carter and Zach Randolph, just to let the young guys come through and, you know, have some veteran leadership. But since this is a young team, and since they don't have DeMarcus Cousins anymore, last year they won 32 games, 50 losses. This season, I don't see them passing 32 wins. Tops is 32. The minimum is probably like 29 to 32. Around that range, 31 wins is very reasonable for the Sacramento Kings team. Let me know in the comment section below how many wins you feel like the Kings will win, along with how long until De'Aaron Fox starts for this team, because he is the future. So with that said, I really hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like on this video if you did. It really helps the channel grow. These videos do take a long time to make, so it'd be greatly appreciated. Before you go, catch up on the latest episodes of the NBA preview. These videos on screen right now will take you to videos prior. The playlist is in the description as well in case you want to binge watch the series. I don't blame you. Along with my Twitter, @Enviers. Follow me on Twitter if you want to chat about the NBA preview or anything else. Keep sharing the videos, and I'll talk to you in the next one.